Peace and blessings, family, and welcome to Tea Time at Harmony. We invite you to come take this journey with us. This journey to holistic healing. Let's go. We are here. Well, who are we? I am Isis Bay, the founder and owner of Harmony Health Therapeutic Services. We are a mental health agency here in the Charlotte area, in the Charlotte community. East Side represent, right? And our agency, what we say about us is that we're the community's home for healing. And that's because we don't just focus on mental health. We look at a holistic view of wellness. And we're proud of that. And why is that? Our model and our framework looks different. Our framework is very different. Mm-hmm. It is trauma focused. It's an African healer-centered approach and a healing-centered approach. And all of these things tells a story. And so we're here to tell that story. And we thank you that you're here to hear and sharing it. So who are you?
I am San Maldonado. I am the Director of Admin for Harmony Health, as well as the Director for Wellness, where we provide holistic care, different services that mostly all mental health agencies do not offer.
Okay. What are those services?
So we offer yoga, we offer Reiki healing, crystal healing, we do chakra balancing here in the house. We also have grief groups and counseling for children as well.
Okay. Mm-hmm. We're going to come back. The wellness services. What else do we offer in our wellness services?
Tobacco healing recovery, sensation groups. We do parenting groups.
English and Spanish.
And in English and in Spanish.
Yeah. She don't like telling all her business. We're always encouraging her to tell what she does and all of the things that she do. So we do offer individual, family, group therapy. We offer support groups. We'll also be offering, which we are, some healthy cooking. We were doing live virtual cooking classes before. We were doing yoga and African dance classes because we're about active living. Through our community connections, we've offered free and low-cost mental health services. And another opportunity that we do through the Community Connections program is by partnering with other community partners. Although we're for-profit, we partner with others in the community to offer free and low-cost services to function as a nonprofit. Although we're not, we do have a fiscal sponsor, which is Obey Foundation, that supports us in providing these low-cost and free services. What are some of those things? Pat's Promise Healthy Living Initiative is a major program that in which we do our holistic healing. And it's about disrupting chronic disease and disparities in our community. And that's in addition to mental health. And why? We're going to talk a little bit more about why are they connected. Why have we been separating physical, emotional, and mental wellness? So check us out a little bit more. Again, our website is www.harmonyhealthpllc.com and find out a little bit more about us and what we do and how we can support the community or partner together to offer wellness services. And stay tuned. We're about to drop this Healthy for Life series with healthy cooking and understanding gardening tips and tools and lifestyles.
And we almost forgot, we also offer nature-based therapy.
That's right.
Through the Obey Foundation as well. So
we won't be offering it through Obey. Obey is our sponsor who has donated the land and a lot of tools. And thank you for Urban Institute for Strengthening Families as well, who donated and built our garden beds. Thank you, Brother Kelly. So in that nature-based therapy, we are offering those that are a part of our Harmony Health family to use gardening, walking nature trails, doing yoga out in nature, all of the things, using it as grounding, and food security is to connect to their mental wellness.
Yeah. Using the outside gardening tools to be able to connect is another holistic measure that can open up all senses.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts? We're here to talk today.
So, Mambe, I have been
Uh-oh.
getting many calls, and I've had a few people come in and they tour the house. It's like House of Healing. And they are blown away, completely blown away, and say, "Oh, well, San, what is it exactly that you guys do here? I hear the words, African-centered approach, African-centered healing, but I don't know what that means."
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, so on that topic, can you tell us exactly what African-centered healing means?
Ooh. Okay. Let me take my slippers off. Let me get a little comfy on this one. All right, we got to move this mic, I guess. What they say, one mic. We only get one mic. We got two though today, y'all. So one, let's talk about the house. Right? We're not your average mental health facility, right? We don't have this medical office.
Yeah.
And so when you walk into our house, right next to the door, we have a shoe rack where if you get comfy, you can bring your favorite pair of slippers because this is truly the community's house for healing. So when you come here, you come into the healing house. You're not just coming into this medical office. You're not just stepping in and it's sterile and all of the things. You're being greeted by Brother Taj, who is very personable. And so people are walking through like, what up, though? Who are you? Who's up in the house, right? You're being offered tea, water, and coffee. We're talking about these different things and why is it important? Because mental health treatment, just how we deliver the treatment is part of the culture, right? So when people ask, sometimes just when they walk through the house and see the tour of the rooms, I say, that's what this is. Because I can give all the fancy language. I could do all the, give all the fancy words. But experiencing and connecting is what African-centered healing is all about. We don't connect enough. We're so busy being humans doing. We're not humans being.
Experiencing and connecting. So would you say that in itself is the African-centered healing approach?
That's part. It's experiencing it. That's what it is. It's not just this set of rules and checkoff lists and guidelines. The experiencing is what it is. So African-centered healing, African-centered psychology, African-centered being comes from a communal concept. It's from our culture. It is beingness, connectedness. It is about the totality of the person. It's not okay, I'm here, I'm the professional, let me see what's wrong with you. It is how we connected. Because your wellness and your overall functioning is based on your connection and your surroundings and your experiences. And that is directly tied to the brain, right? Our trauma focused model, okay, our healing centered approach, it is all brain work. Well, if I am not connected, when we came through the womb, we were connected to a human for the first 9-10 months of our life. And we forget that because we're in such an individualistic society. I was born alone, I'm going to die alone. You a whole goddamn lie. You came into this world connected. You came in through the womb connected. You're connected to your bloodline of those who came before you. And we steadily telling people, I'm alone and I don't have anything and I don't have anybody.
Yeah.
So African-centered psychology talks about the connectedness of the world, of the universal, about understanding that we're more than doing, right? So when we disrupt, because we are disrupting an individualized approach.
Yeah.
And that leads people to think, oh, well, that must not include me. Well, if we talk about connectedness, African-centered healing connects us. And we often do things, even when we think about mental health, I'm going through this alone. I got to do this alone. So we don't seek help. Or it's martyrdom or self-sacrifice or self-sabotage. And our biggest struggle is learning how to connect with people. We have these fancy words talking about attachment style. What is your attachment style growing up? What was that asking is how did you connect through your childhood, coming through that womb? How you connected to your mom through the womb, what sounds you heard, what food you consumed through her womb. If there was violence, if there was yells and screams or certain things that startled you, that was implanted in your brain because you were connected. And it is still connected. It's part of your roots. And we don't see that when we're doing individualistic approaches to healing.
I can say one thing on that that has been brought to my attention when people do come in for tours or to ask questions. That is one thing that they do say. They notice, wow, it doesn't matter who comes through the doors or what professional is there. Everyone says hi to me. Even though I'm just coming in to ask a question at the front desk, I get everyone stop and they say, "Hey, family." And I was startled because are they talking to me or that was my thought.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, we're talking to you. Everyone is family. We do this together.
That's right.
So that concept right there, going from communal, from individualism to understanding, or at least trying to understand,
Right.
because we don't
We're
just
not
to say the
used to
word,
that.
we're not used to that. We're conditioned. So to even see it for the first time is mind blowing. To see it for the first time, it really is a culture shock.
Even the setup, right?
Yeah, it's dope.
We don't have offices, individual offices. So it's not just in our framework and our model, it's in our culture. That's different. Because culture and African-centered healing and psychology talks about culture. That the culture of people is so important and is connected to their wellness. Why? Because there's an individual part of healing that one has to go through. They have to go in to come out. But healing also happens in community. So how does my community, my environment, my village impact my internal journey? And how is my internal journey and what I'm dealing with, my wellness or lack thereof, contributing to my village and my community?
Yeah.
And so that is why African Center is we talk about the South African Ubuntu concept. I am because we are. And we are because I am. Right? People get stuck on half of it. Yeah. I am because we are. Okay. So yes, I am being more successful because the community, the collective is successful. Or I'm not well because my collective is not well. And we see that in families, right? We talk about children. And then there'll be those that serve people and say, oh, but I'm only working with this. Then they got to go back to the problem. And even how we frame that. So there's a piece of understanding that this child is connected to something larger, which is impacting. Their environment is impacting this child. But we see it from such a deficit lens. We don't see that, well, if we help honor, support, and wrap around the family, that we're wrapping around a child that we're seeing. So this I am because we are, yet we are because I am. So that individualism stops us halfway instead of saying, well, wait a minute. So if the community supported me to be well, then I think I need to get well so that I can contribute back to my community, so that I can be accountable. Since my community was being accountable or not for me, how am I being accountable or not back to my village or my community? For things to flow. It don't go one way. It's both ways. And African-centered healing talks about that. It embodies it. It's not, again, a set of rules and guidelines. It's a framework. It's a lens. It's a perspective. It's what to embody.
That's dope. Now, to clarify for those that don't know, we hear the word African-centered healing approach and think right away, oh, well, I can't get that because I'm not African.
And so what I love about that is we forgot who are the original people of the earth.
Africanos.
Right. So we already know that. Science has already proven that.
Yeah.
There's nothing to prove. We're talking about the original people. And what happens is African-centeredness, because it's communal, because it's collective, because it centers of those what Dr. Jim Ray says, the margins of the margins. Well, this philosophy says if we are already connected, then that means no one man chop. Nobody gets left behind. So we don't create infrastructure and systems that exclude. We don't create things that creates barriers for equitable access to things. Because when we center things, when it's communal, that means we considered everybody. Everybody's been considered. So if everybody's been considered and something has been designed around the most vulnerable person, then everybody else has access. But if you look at Western individualism, they've centered systems and institutions around those that had dominant power and control. Then everyone else has been excluded. So of course I'm going to take offense to that.
Yeah.
Because you have to hear that that's who you design institutions and approaches and lenses and frameworks for, one dominant group. But if we centered our perspective and our lens on the most vulnerable, the margins of the margins, then there's no barriers to anyone else. Here's an example. Sidewalks, right?
Okay.
So when we can take race or culture and those things off it, people have a hard time. There's an offense. But let's look at sidewalks. When we think about ableism, we've designed sidewalks for people who walk. Not everybody walks. Not everybody has access to their legs. There's some people in a wheelchair. There's some people who are not even in a wheelchair. We didn't consider everybody in the community. If we considered everybody, then there might not be a step up. There would be ramps everywhere.
Wow, yeah.
Or there might not be a sidewalk. But see, we said sidewalks will keep us safe. Well, is it safe? Or could we create another space, a walking way, where everyone has access? So it doesn't matter if you're in a wheelchair, if you're walking or not. Because if you created a walkway, not a step up, that it requires something, now we're talking about equity, everyone can walk in that path. So why do we create things with a step up? Because it was centered around those who had ableism, who is able to step up.
Building barriers on those that don't.
You've already created it because you built it for the dominant group. So if the dominant group were those who can walk and step up, because we didn't consider the whole village. And that's what individualism does, is value self over others. It's not martyrdom. Communalism and collectivism isn't about self-sabotage and self-martyr. It is about who am I within my group and how does my group impact who am I? That I value both, not either or, but the and.
Wow. With that, we have been so conditioned.
Oh man.
So you give this example. I've never even thought of
Right.
what a sidewalk is and how it is limiting to some. Wow.
And that's so connected to, right, our other part of our framework and philosophy is the healing-centered approach. So Dr. Jim Wright took this understanding of culture conscious, race consciousness, right? Understanding African-centered psychology. That, wait a minute, there's connection here. As we're working with you and we're working with other people, why are we not connected to them? Why didn't we understand them and learn from them? Why haven't we been humble in culture? So we're here serving. Culture is so important. Healing Center says, but wait a minute. As those that serving others, why are we not doing the healing work? Why are we not utilizing the tools and the things that we're telling others to use? Everything is not for everyone. But I'm not going to use a medication that I'm promoting to sell. That's something. I'm not going to have the emotional intelligence and the things to manage within, but I'm teaching you to do that. It's almost a requirement.
Wow. Yeah.
We meet others as deeply as we meet ourselves. So if I have been stuck in anger, if I have been stuck in resentment, if I haven't had healthy relationships, how am I connecting to the person I'm serving?
Well, you really are only meeting them as far as you are.
If I judge myself, this is do this, do that, don't do this. So if I'm serving you, I'm working with you, I'm partnering with you in an organization, and you do that thing, the power of the word, I'm already judging you. You're good, you're bad, you shouldn't be doing that, you shouldn't, you should, it's right, it's wrong.
Yeah.
Because I've already judged myself. I've already held you and expected you to be to a standard. Or I'm going to shut off that human part of me. I'm going to just disconnect and I'm not going to establish an emotional connection. Well, that's because you haven't fully established it with you. Because who does that? Who can shut their brain on and off? That's not the way our body works.
Not, yeah.
But we'll be trained that way. We'll be told, check this box, serve people from 9 to 5. Instead of understanding I'm human too. And African-centeredness says, understanding that there's a humanness to this work. Everybody's not a case number and can be quantified.
And now, with understanding the importance of African-centered healing approach, right? When a person comes in, I've also received this feedback, which I think is amazing. I've told, wow, I've been through a lot of therapists. And I try not to, chuckle a little bit. I smile and I say, okay, so what inspires you to stay here with us at Harmony Health? And I get told, you know what? No one here tells me what to do. I'm heard here. And would that be part of that approach, right? That African-centered approach, not telling someone what they should be doing.
Absolutely.
Rather than holding space.
Absolutely. So an African-centered versus European Western models, it's not a parentified, because we believe in a collective knowledge, that no one person can contain all of this source or information. And there's eldership, there's mentorship, right? There's these things in collecting wisdom and its experience. And it's validating life experience and lived experience. Where Western view is, again, me. I have all this knowledge. I claim it. I own it. I've studied. And it's a worship of the written word. Where African-centeredness is honoring each person, that we each have a collective knowledge, that we can learn from each other. And so that is a hard thing within our culture and how we deliver services, because here we're born and raised in an individualistic society.
Yeah, definitely.
My goodness. And power and control.
Yeah.
So people, black and brown people of oppressed groups, and all those that have been experienced or navigated oppression here are so used to that paternalized. Tell me what to do. Advise me. That is hard for people. While some have good, they can identify positive experiences with that, there's a lot of challenges because it's embedded in my brain that I'm not worthy to share. I'm not worthy to contribute to this. I'm not worthy to say something to my therapist when sound like you telling me what to do, or to speak up, or to give feedback, because it's often received with, how dare you? Instead of, let's listen to what they're saying. Because even if they have a filter, even if it's something activating inside them, let's still listen. It's still inside them. How do we honor their feelings and help them understand their feelings aren't always facts? So that's major in our philosophy, in our model, in our approach, and how we embody. No, we're not going to tell you what to do. No, there's not power and control. So in that, the house is set up like that, right? You come in here and you choose what healing room you want to do your work in. We're not telling you what room to go in. This is my office. And because this is my office, people come and say, where's your office? My office. This is our house. We have collective space. We have shared space. Now, where you want to do your healing work? What room speaks to you? Where do you want to sit? We don't come in and sit down and then there's the therapist chair. You know that?
Yeah.
That dictates power and control. That's my chair. There's something said about that chair that exudes power because it's mine. And then you sit somewhere else in the room.
Lay on the couch and tell me your problems. I'm going to tell you what to do.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be verbal, but that behavior, that gesture is communicating that I have power over you. That I'm the expert when each person is the expert of them. Even if they haven't tapped into themselves.
Yeah.
That is what we're here to help them. Like, help you tap into you. We're not here to empower you.
Yeah.
We don't have that power over you to empower you. I have the power over me. And I've learned some things and I have some wisdom to share with you. As I learn from you, I gotta learn from you first. To be a teacher, you have to be a student. And as you teach me about you, I'll share some tools, jewels I've learned along the way so that you can tap into your own power. And that's rough because power and control is embedded, especially if those of us that are the helpers and healers have been through our own power and control relationships and abusive relationships. We didn't fully heal it. We're still experiencing that activation, that counter transference, all the words you want to call it, fancy words.
Fancy words.
And we're reenacting out those things with those we're serving. That's why doing our work is a parallel process. So we don't bleed on others that didn't cut us.
Wow. So we don't bleed on others that didn't cut us. That's major.
Yeah. So imagine walking into a space and the doctors always say, please take a seat. And then when you take a seat, they walk you into the room. There's already a chair where you're going to sit. You already know where you are supposed. You know your place.
Automatically go to your place. Yes.
You know your place. Nah, we don't do that shit.
Yeah.
We disrupt. We bust that shit wide open. Here, you show us your place. Because we share space.
Yeah.
We don't dominate it.
That is something that definitely, before finding my home here, I've never heard before.
Mm-hmm. What part is it that you haven't heard?
I haven't heard the sit down or choose your space. Definitely never heard the choose your space. Choose what space you want to go into, if there are multiple. Choose where you want to sit, because usually there are only 2 seats and one is already assigned. And when you walk in, the person looks at you like you know where to go. So the naturally being used to being told what to do, we wait for it. Well, I can speaking for self. I wait for that. Waited for that. And not thinking that you still don't have a voice. So I'm coming to you for you to be my voice, when it's completely the opposite. We both have voice, and thank you for helping me find mine.
Right. I think about it in both ways, right? There's times we do need to be led. There's times that we need guidance. We're going on trips, or that's why we have road maps. That's why we have instructors. And there's different roles. Does that mean that I never knew, I don't know. Sometimes I think I don't know the way. And then I'm walking through a process and I realize I have. But I've been so used to a GPS telling me where to go. I'm here. I'm taking the same turns. And I've not had someone to stop and say, hold on. Take a moment. Let's consider. What do you already know when you come through our doors? What strengths do you already have? What information do you already bring into this house, into our space to teach us? Sometimes we forget that we have it within us, and we need help remembering what's inside of us without the pain and the trauma responses and all the things suppressing what we've known to be true before. And maybe what we've known to be true hasn't been as helpful. At some point, it helped us survive. So instead of framing it as it was wrong, there's something wrong with me, what happened to me? And what happened to me, these are the things that I've learned to survive. Well, is that what's going to help me thrive right now? So let me go back to what I've learned to survive. You know what? I'm going to keep this shit. I'm going to throw that shit out.
No longer serves you.
That's not helping me thrive. It's actually a barrier for me to thrive now. What are my barriers to thrive? Oh, because I have been walking with this knowledge and it was true at one point. It's no longer true. And that's what we're trained, that I'm permanent. I just am the way that I am. That's how you become. You weren't always that way.
And you choose. You can choose to stay that way.
That's the power.
Yeah.
That we all have a choice. Always have a choice. We may not like them, We all
when
have
we
a choice.
Yeah, yeah.
So, another example. Let's think about it, right? This is one y'all get a crack out of. And listen, I have to give credit to one of my big sisters, one of the dopest social workers, Angela Sepulveda. I'll never forget, I was in her family's course and we were role playing. And something was happening and there was an impact and someone was crying. I'm Mama Bear. And I'm like, oh, I'm running to get a tissue. And she was like, don't you dare. Clutch, and I don't wear pearls. I probably clutched my Lakers. And it's like, and the lesson was so profound to this day. And it was bigger than a clinical intervention. It brought me back to power and control. It brought me back to dominant culture and ingraining and conditioning. So when someone's crying and we get a tissue. Here you go.
Yeah.
And we do have good intentions, and good intentions still harm. And I didn't know. It's okay. And others think it's just, you're just correcting me. That's just what we do. Again, the checkoff list. So now I just don't do this because it's a therapy thing. No, let's ask why. So I didn't just just don't do it because. I looked at it and I really sat with it. And I started looking back into culture and power and control. Well, if you're crying, I'm assuming right away that you don't know how to communicate your needs and you need me to parentify you. And because you're crying, you don't know how to say, excuse me, can I have a tissue? You don't know how to communicate your needs and ask for what you need because that's how we're conditioned. We're conditioned that somebody else. We have to sit there and do a thing and wait for someone to take care of us. That we don't know how to communicate our needs. That's power and control. That's me codependent and dependent on somebody else. Not that there's interdependence and connection. I don't know how to do anything for myself. So I need you to. And then what we do, we show up. We offer the tissue. And we're not verbally saying it. It's a gesture to let you know it's time to stop crying now. And a lot of people's like, no. I start to clean up and clear up and gather myself. And oftentimes, it's not because it is my thought, I'm thinking it's because, but I don't know that the historical part of that is, I'm uncomfortable looking at you with snot. And perhaps because I was crying, I was taught that I should be uncomfortable somewhere. And that it's embarrassing to have snot, even though snot is a normal body function. It's normal. All these things that are normal things in life, we have made them to be grotesque and something wrong with me right now.
Clean it up and stop.
Clean it up.
Yeah.
Stop. And there's this implicit communication happening. Not because someone told me don't do it again. I went and sat with all of the things that's showing up. Wow. So now we clean it up and move on. And then that's it. How about, wow, do you have a tissue? Or no, I'm good. You have cleaner? It's because we're uncomfortable. Because if we see someone wipe their nose, oh my gosh. Well, that's their germs. We ain't got to touch them. I choose.
Yeah.
Am I sitting here thinking that you're going to force me to touch your germs?
You know, it's after you had given us the lesson the first time, I had thought about it and I'm like, wow, really sitting with it. And I'm like, what if the person wasn't ready? What if they still had so much more to release? Who am I to tell you to stop feeling what you feeling and clean it up?
Right.
So that really stood with me. Now you can have snots all over your face. I'm going to look the other way and you hold space and you do what you need to do. Doesn't mean I need to watch. However, hold space. Sis, do what you got to do.
Yeah.
If you feeling it, go ahead. And that's something that I think from being conditioned that we forget that it doesn't matter where you're at for you to be able to feel how you feel. And not be judged for it or not be feeling like you're a burden.
That's a thought.
Yes, ma'am. That's definitely a thought.
I think about, when you say that, I think about as we come to a close, that whole part on the power and control, how that shows up. Not just with the tissue stuff and how people feel. Let me think. It's something you said, like how you feel, what you feel, and I know it brought me back to, it's okay to cry. It's okay. But as soon as we see somebody crying, what's wrong? We keep reinforcing. We're goddamn so contradictory. And I work on it. I work to disrupt that shit, because we see somebody on the street crying. Oh, what's wrong? You okay? I thought it was okay to cry. So I have been intentionally not being disrupted by somebody crying, unless they go, excuse me, I need help. Others are like, damn, that's cold. You didn't even stop to see if they needed help. Well, that's what you need, because we're not capable. The person is not able to help. Now, if they're falling on the ground, they can't get up, and they're struggling to get up, hey, do you need assistance? I've learned that. I go to the grocery store, you right. I assume that's ableism and privilege. That parentify, we're so used to that. Being in Ghana and being in communal culture, people are doing their thing, they crying, they doing their thing. I'm like, they're gonna be okay. If they need help, they'll. And I'm like, that's right. That damn Western shit be showing up when I go over there, and I'm like, that's right. I teach it and still have this because of the conditioning.
Yeah, same thing with your kids. Like,
oh my gosh,
they're falling out, or yeah,
don't because of survival. We haven't been a safe people here.
Yeah.
So I think about that. Right, it's okay to cry. And then the first thing we say is, what's wrong?
What's wrong?
Instead of, what's happening?
Yeah. What a good conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to do this again. You
Sure.
ready? You coming back?
I'm with it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
She was running from us, y'all. She was saying, I don't know. Well, I'm grateful. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for hanging out with me today.
Definitely. Thank you for the opportunity.
Say
I'm definitely
word.
here for it.
All right, y'all. Y'all ready? Let's go.
Let's go.
Wow. That was a journey. And thank you for joining us. If you'd like to join our family, visit us at www.harmonyhealthpllc.com. And if you want to take the next mission with us, you're more than welcome. Come visit us back on YouTube. And till then, don't forget your tea.